the perfect puppets. Perfect.
Yeah.
You know.
So Angela, how do we figure out who Anwar Ibrahim really is? I mean, he's saying things that people want to hear, just like Vladimir Zelensky was saying things people wanted to hear. How do you cut through this rhetoric and figure out whether he's telling the truth or not?
Well, just his tracking record, where he comes from, who are his backers, who funded him, from the beginning. He was funded by NED. I mean, really clearly, it was openly, I am proud to be part of NED. And we remind people, what is NED? This is only the rebranded name of the CIA, So, we hear, we're not saying that, if you're Malaysian, you know what? We're just giving you the information. Ultimately, you decide. But keep in mind that no matter what, the foundation of democracy is sovereignty. If you have someone that is actually ruling your country, that is being financed by the US, you know what? You need to ask the question, is he running for me? Is he going to manage the country for me or on behalf of the US?
The International Monetary Fund, anyone who knows anything about Southeast Asia knows that the IMF, just like you said, Angelo, perhaps it's a crude way of putting it, but it's very accurate. They raped the region. They were loan sharks on a regional level. They debt trap diplomacy, what they're always projecting onto China. This is what the US and European governments did through the World Bank, through the IMF to Asia. And former chairs, look at all of these interesting people. Oh, who's that? Anwar Ibrahim. I mean, how much worse does it get to be part of the IMF?
Do you know what the IMF does? Raping. They call this liberalization, but liberalization, it's in fact like, take me. I mean, just rape me.
The 2007, this is a long time ago, 2007 National Endowment for Democracy Annual Report. That's Anwar Ibrahim right there, all the way to the left in Washington, D.C. with the whole gang. That's Carl Gershman, president of the NED right there. And this is all of them in Washington, D.C. And he was there for an event. And then I don't know why he was in this picture. I guess he was just hanging out with them the whole time he was in Washington. And then we had this in 2019. So 2007, 2019. So it wasn't like an isolated incident. It's something he's been doing all of these years, working for the IMF, working with the NED.
So when you have someone that you elected that is financed by those very powerful big corporation, IMF, World Bank, and also the US, US interest, NED, and so on. That's that is the, how can I say, the globalist agenda. They're working for the globalist agenda, not for Malaysia.
No one seemed to know that Malaysia Kini was funded by the US government. And I've had the same arguments with people over Malaysia Kini, where they're like, okay, so it is funded. They argued with me that it wasn't because they knew how bad that looked. And then when they found out that it was, they started making excuses. That's not rational. I'm sorry, that's not rational. And this is a huge flaw in human nature that the West exploits over and over and over again. That's why you had the 2011 Arab Spring, a complete disaster. 2014 Euromating, complete disaster. Now we're watching the same process take place in Southeast Asia.
They used to have a military on the ground. Those were colonies, like old-style colonies. Now it comes in different form. They control your wallet. They control your budget. They control your politicians. They control your media. That's neo-colonialism. Just learn that.
Well, they were trying to do in Myanmar, Cambodia, Thailand, Vietnam. They're trying to overthrow governments that want to work with China, and they want to put in obedient client regimes that will irrationally cut their ties with China and open themselves up to exploitation by the West. That is exactly what is going to happen. And the US admits it. They said, we're not going to allow China to surpass us. Well, how do you do that to a country that has 4 or 5 times the population and is in the process of surpassing you? How do you stop them other than by, subverting them? Got it very wrong this time, Brian. You're right about everything about Ukraine, about Thailand, about China, but you're wrong about Malaysia. Well, why? Because you want me to be wrong, or because you actually checked and I was wrong about something in my research? I'm showing you Anwar Ibrahim working with the NED.
2016 or 19?
From 2007 to 2019. And in 2018, the NED bragged about how the opposition coalition that he was part of and a leader of, how they got them into power. It's, again, what can you say to people who you explain this to and you show the people involved admitting it blatantly, as clear as day? It's practically a signed confession, and they still refuse to believe what they're seeing and they're hearing. I don't know.
You are smart. Malaysian people, why do you need to have a president that is being groomed, trained, funded by the US? I mean, are you big enough? Really? It's about sovereignty. It's not only about sovereignty. It's about dignity. Why would you have another man coming to your house and telling you how should be your relationship with your wife and your kids, and actually doing the whole job and controlling your house? I mean, that is dignity, face, really, face.
As far as with the NED, but not a guarantee he will follow them after he is in power. I don't understand. Honestly, I don't understand. History, as our guide, shows that every single person who is groomed by the NED, when they get into power, they will nosedive the country into disaster. That's what they do, unless opposition in that country stops them. This is the only hope for Malaysia at this point. Anwar will not have a chance to do things for the National Endowment for Democracy. His majority is slim. So this is the only hope Malaysia has, is that the opposition can keep him in check. The only thing that stops him from destroying the country. But like you said, Angela, sometimes things happen so incrementally and slowly, people don't even notice it.